Hi friends, welcome back to the Scapegoat Club. My name's Jess and this video is about how to handle the question, they're your parents, why can't you just forgive them? Oh my gosh, stay tuned. Hi friends, welcome back. My name's Jess. I am a psychotherapist. I am the survivor of a narcissistic family, formerly in the scapegoat role. And I am pretty much estranged from my parents, and I talk a lot about estrangement. And this video is prompted by a question from the comments on one of my videos. And this question is, you can't forgive them? They're your parents. I mean, okay, so what do we do when we come across this kind of question? And the problem, the basic problem is, I mean, there's a lot of problems with this question. But one of the big problems is that it's oversimplified a very, very complicated and personal and difficult situation. Also, there's a lot of power in this. The questioner is putting themselves in a power position over you, over me, to basically put us on the spot and say, because we're social beings, I've asked you a question and I expect you to answer it. So already there's a little bit of a power imbalance here. And the fact that it is, as I said, so personal, so complicated, and it would take a lot to explain, puts us in a really tricky position. Now, I'm going to answer it from the perspective of the fact that I want to do this video. And I do put myself out there to talk about this, so I'm okay to kind of take this on in this context. But I'm going to say, and I'm going to come back to this at the end, that we absolutely have a right to not answer these questions. It's really up to us. And in some of the comments, I choose not to answer because I just think, I'm not going to. But this one just seemed like a really good exercise for a video. So first of all, let's just break down that question a little bit, because there's a lot of inference in the question or the statement or whatever this comment is. First of all, you can't just forgive them. Well, in that word, the word forgiveness is I think there's a lot behind that. Maybe this person didn't mean this, but a lot of people, when they say the word forgiveness, they're implying that we should forget, condone, excuse, and reconnect and move on and still have a relationship. So there's a lot of expectation behind this word forgiveness. Now, actually, I've got a really, really great video coming up on forgiveness. I'm fascinated by this topic. It's so interesting. Forgiveness, what it actually is, who it's for the person doing it, or for the person who kind of perpetrated the offense, for the abuser, and how helpful is forgiveness, especially in the situation of being in an abusive relationship. So there's a bunch of research in that, so stay tuned for that. It's coming out really soon. The other part in the problem with this question that we're talking about here is that there's they're your parents. Again, there's a huge assumption around the fact that parents are good, benevolent people and that we should have relationships for them. But let's face it, the barriers to entry for being a parent are pretty low. Basically, you've got to be able to have sex. And that's actually not the highest skilled of things we have to do in our lives, let's face it. And so when there is no training course how to be a good parent, when people don't have to understand the intricacies of and the complexities of human relationships, and well, maybe it's not that complicated, but being a decent human being, for some people that's really hard. So again, this assumption that the parent is always a good person in our lives, there's just, again, it's way, way too simplified. So what do we do, friends? What do we do when we're in a social setting and we're faced with this question? I think it really depends. First of all, is it a genuine question Is it a genuine inquiry from someone you trust, that it's a situation where you can talk about things, or potentially, or is it someone who really is maybe being judgmental or has an axe to grind? They have a predetermined idea of how they want the conversation to end up. They want you to agree with their perspective, and that's where they're coming from. So what do we do? I would say if it's a genuine one, then, proceed with caution. Decide if that is somewhere you want to go in this place and time, or in another time, and have that conversation. If someone is being genuine and curious, and you think it is something that you want to invest a bit of time in, then great. You may or may not want to do that in that situation, but I think we can kind of navigate and handle that. If you're not sure whether they're being genuine or not, you can always try a bit of a exploratory question. It might be, and you can make it a bit jokey as well, and say something like, "Oh, that's a long story. How much time have you got?" That might be a way of just kind of stalling for time, and also say, like, seeing where they're going. If they have got this axe to grind, then I think a lot of times they will come back with some kind of tell. They'll say like, "Oh, it can't be that complicated. They're your parents, they're your family," something like that. So that'll give you an indication as to where they're coming from. But if they're like, "Oh, it's a long story, that's a big thing," or, then you can say, yeah, and so maybe this isn't the right time for it. Let's talk about it another time. Or or if you don't really want to, but be like, "Yeah, so it's probably not the right story for today." Something like that. That's how you can get around it. If you're not questioning their intentions, and you're like, "Yeah, I know that they're just trying to get at me, or they want to influence me in some way," I think that's the more difficult situation. So let's chat about how to manage that. I would say I've got a few strategies. The first one is firing a warning shot. It's quite similar to the exploratory question I just talked about, but it's a little firmer. It's a bit more, so I would say it's when you basically want to say, "Not going there," but you want to say in a kind of a more subtle way, and maybe a more socially acceptable way. So I might say something like, "Oh, that's a can of worms. We don't want to go there." Or if you want to make it stronger, like, "Oh, that's a can of worms. You really don't want to go there." So again, the slight adjustment of wording is kind of like, it's that warning shot, and it's like saying, "Okay, I'm aware of this conversation and where it might be going, and I'm not going to be pushed into it that easily." So a lot of people will kind of back away at that point. They will kind of get the hint and decide they don't want to go there. Some people won't. It's annoying. So what do we do with those folks? If they don't back off, we can repeat ourselves. Say, "Oh yeah, no, I don't want to go there." And just keep it really simple, and repeat, and then repeat if necessary, and then leave. Another way of, if you don't want to fire the warning shot and you're just like, "I want to shut this down straight away," I would treat it as a closed question. So you don't feel like you have to explain yourself, because we don't want to go into, "Oh, forgiveness is complicated," or "the situation is difficult," or blah, 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 blah. And we also might not want to say, "No, I don't want to forgive my parents," or "Yes, it's hard for me to forgive," because then we feel like we're not able to explain our perspective properly. So in that situation, it's absolutely okay to take a pause, take a breath, and say, "Nah, I don't really want to go there right now." Or, "No, I'm not going to talk about that right now." You can say it with a smile if you want to soften it, or just say, "Yeah, interesting question." Take a pause and move on. Change the subject. If you're in that situation, again, remember, we don't have to answer this. We have no obligation to explain ourselves to anybody around this. It's like the question around, "Do you have children?" or "Why can't you lose weight?" Some inane, dumb social question that people aren't thinking about, or they want to judge us. We don't need to be in these situations. So change the subject, walk away, smile, and avoid them for the rest of the situation. Friends, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining the channel. If you need any extra support, check out my website. I do one-on-one coaching. I have the blog there. You can like, you can subscribe, you can share, you can comment, all of those things. Thank you for supporting me, the club, each other, everything. Please take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.